Hello friends, welcome to Plant Science Forum. In the previous video, we discussed about the role of light and photosynthetic apparatus. Now, in continuation to that, today's topic of discussion is two pigment system and photophosphorylation. Now see here, this is the portion of visible spectrum, this much. It is the portion of visible spectrum. Here you can see visible spectrum ranges between about 400 nanometer to about 700 nanometer. Within this range, you can observe a different color with respect to the wavelength. This color combination and sequence is VIBGYOR, nothing but rainbow, what we see during rainy season. Now understand the word monochromatic light. Mono means one and chroma means light. So monochromatic light means light of single wavelength having one specific color. In an experiment performed on chlorella, Emerson and Lewis determined quantum yield of photosynthesis by using a monochromatic light of different wavelength. In the experiment, they conclude that different wavelength of visible light shows different quantum yield. The quantum yield of photosynthesis is defined as the molar ratio between oxygen released to photons absorbed in photosynthesis. Similar kind of concept we had discussed in the previous video about the role of light and photosynthetic apparatus, where I talked about the absorption spectra and action spectra for photosynthesis. Let's revise that again. An absorption spectra shows all the colors of light absorbed by the plant. All the color means wavelength. And action spectra is a graph of rate of biological effectiveness plotted against wavelength of light. If you observe this graph plotted against the wavelength of visible spectrum, here you can clearly understand that for chlorophyll A, which is the essential pigment, there are two peaks for absorbance and two peaks for effectiveness in photosynthesis. We have already discussed this. Now let's see similar kind of development in the context of experiment performed by the Emerson in chlorella. Now let's discuss the experiment performed by Emerson and Lewis on chlorella, where they found that the quantum yield showed a sharp decrease in a quantum yield at wavelength greater than 680 nanometer. See, suppose this is the exact result for 680 nanometer wavelength. When they supplied a wavelength greater than 680 nanometer, then the quantum yield shows a sharp decrease in photosynthesis. This decrease in quantum yield took place in far red part of spectrum in the region above 680 nanometer. This decline in photosynthesis is called as red drop effect because this region after the 680 nanometer it comes under the red color of the visible spectrum. In another experiment, Emerson reported that inefficient far red light could be made fully efficient if supplemented with light of short wavelength. The quantum yield from the two combined beams was found to be greater than the effect of both beams when used separately. Here he showed that when a far red light of about 700 nanometer is given, rate of photosynthesis is lower. Here far red light of about 700 nanometer is given, rate of photosynthesis is lower. Likewise, when separately shorter wavelength of red light of about 680 nanometer is given, rate of photosynthesis is also lower. But when both of these far red and red light longer wavelength in combination with shorter wavelength is given, the rate of photosynthesis or quantum yield shows enhancement. This enhancement of photosynthesis is called as Emerson enhancement effect. Now let's summarize both the Emerson experiment. In red drop effect, Emerson reported that when longer wavelength, that is far red light of more than 680 nanometer is given, the quantum yield decreases sharply. In immersion enhancement effect, Emerson reported that when combination of longer and shorter wavelength, that is far red and red light is used, the quantum yield enhances as compared to the both of them when used separately. The discovery of red dwarf effect and the immersion enhancement effect presented a new concept that photosynthetic pigments are involved in two distinct photochemical processes, and these two distinct processes are associated with two groups of photosynthetic pigments called as photosystem 1 and photosystem 2. Just see in the diagram here, this represents photosystem 2 and this is photosystem 1. On the chloroplast in the thylakoid membrane, we can see distribution of photosystem 2 in the thylakoid region, and whereas a PS1 or photosystem 1 is present in stromal lamellae region. This is the stack region where PS2 is present, and in the stromal lamellae region PS1 is more distributed. Now let's read some facts about the two pigment system. Wavelength of light shorter than 680 nanometer affect both pigment system, while wavelength longer than 680 nanometer affects only one pigment system, that is photosystem 1. Photosystem 1 is found in thylakoid membrane and stroma lamellae. It contains reaction center chlorophyll A 700. 700 stands for wavelength of visible spectrum. Photosystem 2 is found in only thylakoid membrane. It contains reaction center chlorophyll A 680. 680 stands for wavelength 680 nanometer of visible spectrum. Chlorophyll A content is more in photosystem 1 than photosystem 2. Carotenoids are present in both photosystem 2 and photosystem 1. PS1 is associated with both cyclic and non-cyclic photophosphorylation, but PS2 is associated with only non-cyclic photophosphorylation. As discussed in one of the previous videos, photosynthesis consists of two phases: light reaction or light dependent reaction and dark reaction or light independent reaction. Light reaction is actually a preparatory phase. Light reaction is actually a preparatory phase for dark reaction where reducing power NADPH2 is produced along with oxygen evolution. Light reaction involves three steps: excitation of chlorophyll, photolysis of water, or you can say Hill reaction, and third last step is the photophosphorylation. Whereas dark reaction is about carbon fixation and or you can say biosynthesis phase, where principal pathway is Kelvin cycle or PCR cycle. PCR means photosynthetic carbon reduction cycle, or C3 cycle after the carbon number of first stable compound of the cycle. In nature, plants are present in very diverse habitat where principal pathway for carbon dioxide fixation, that is Kelvin cycle, could not operate effectively. So plants adapted to their present environment by variety of processes that deliver atmospheric carbon dioxide to the Kelvin cycle. As in adverse condition, Kelvin cycle operates in protected environment deep inside the cellular arrangement. So these adaptations are HSK or C4 cycle, CAM pathway, photorespiration, glycolate or C2 cycle. We will discuss this dark reaction very soon in coming video. Now this is the first step in light reaction, that is excitation of chlorophyll pigment. Everybody might be familiar with this diagram of Z scheme. Here I am talking about this step only, this much. In this first step of light reaction, these two marked region, they are only matter of concern. Now this antenna complex this region. This antenna complex region is consist of different chlorophyll pigments. This is the porphyrin ring for the chlorophyll, and this this C20H29 is reduced form for long phytol chain. In porphyrin ring, magnesium is present, which absorbs the light energy and excites the electron. And this diagram represents that different wavelengths of light excite the electron by different amount. Now, this is the most significant step in the light reaction, which ultimately leads to the evolution of oxygen. The electron vacancy created in the chlorophyll molecules after the excitation of electron is fulfilled by electrons released by the photolysis of water. Photolysis of water is the reason behind the continuation of electron transport chain in chloroplast, which ultimately leads to the synthesis of carbohydrates in the dark reaction. Manganese, calcium and chlorine ions play a prominent role in the photolysis of water. The electrons that reduce oxidized photosystem 2 are supplied by a cluster of 4 manganese ions associated with a small complex of protein called as oxygen evolving complex. This oxygen evolving complex is a site for photolysis of water. To release one molecule of oxygen, 2 molecules of water are required. Here, this equation shows the breakdown of one water molecule where released electrons are supplied to oxidized photosystem 2. Released protons helps to reduce NADP plus after passing the electrons from photosystem 1, and oxidation of 2 water molecule releases 1 molecular oxygen. Here this equation shows only a single water molecule and its oxidation, so half oxygen molecule is released, whereas it requires to release 1 molecule of oxygen, 2 molecules of water should be oxidized. This is third and last step of light reaction, that is photophosphorylation. There are two types of photophosphorylation: cyclic photophosphorylation and non-cyclic photophosphorylation. After excitation of electron from photosystem 2, the various electron carriers involved in this series are: first primary acceptor of electron is the pheophytin, then is passes electron to the quinones. After the quinones, electrons are passed to plastoquinone pool. Later it transfers the electrons to cytochrome B6 and F complex and then to the plastocyanin. And later plastocyanin passes electrons to photosystem 1, that is P700. And this photosystem 1 P700 passes electron to iron sulfur proteins, which in turn passes to ferredoxin, and at last they are given or they are submitted to NADP reductase complex, where the reducing power NADPH is synthesized. The product of this reaction, that is ATP and NADPH2, is utilized in the next phase of photosynthesis, that is dark reaction. Specifically, NADPH2, which is a reducing power, is utilized in the dark reaction to reduce the atmospheric oxidized carbon in the form of carbon dioxide. So ultimately, it is the availability and requirement of ATP and NADPH which governs the operation between cyclic and non-cyclic photophosphorylation. Let's first discuss cyclic photophosphorylation. Cyclic photophosphorylation is performed by photosystem 1 only. It is the process in which electron expelled by the excited photosystem 1 is returned to it after passing through a series of electron carriers. Likewise, they are returning to its original condition. It occurs under the conditions of low light intensity, wavelength longer than 680 nanometers, and when CO2 fixation is inhibited. Under this condition, cyclic photophosphorylation only operates. Absence of CO2 fixation results in the non-requirement of electrons, as NADPH2 is not being utilized in the next phase, that is dark reaction. Again, see the cyclic photophosphorylation in a different view. Now this is the thylakoid membrane view of electron transport chain. This is the ray diagram for electron flow in cyclic photophosphorylation, and this is Z scheme. When cyclic photophosphorylation is happening, only PS1 is functional. Now see, when there is a condition that low light intensity is present, CO2 is not being utilized in the next phase. At this time, when longer wavelength is present, only the PS1 will be activated. After the excitation of electrons from PS1, it will be passed to the ferredoxine. But as the next step of light dark reaction is not present, so electrons will not pass through to the NADH reductase complex, but these electrons will back to cytochrome B6 and F complex. When this electron moves from cytochrome B6 complex to the plastocyanin, at that time a protons from the stroma of chloroplast will enter into the lumen of thylakoid membrane, and later after plastocyanin electrons again reach to the photosystem 1. Because of this movement of electron from the stroma of the chloroplast into the lumen of thylakoid membrane, there is a development of proton gradient, and because of this proton gradient, ultimately ATP synthesis occurs. As the electrons moved from cytochrome B6 complex, this proton gradient is responsible for ATP synthesis, just like we saw in respiration, if you know, but later we will discuss that also. No NADPH is produced in cyclic photophosphorylation. Now come to non-cyclic photophosphorylation. It is the normal process of photophosphorylation in which the electrons expelled by the excited photocenter does not return to it. Now, non-cyclic photophosphorylation is carried out in collaboration of both photosystem 1 and 2. Electrons released during photosynthesis of water is picked up by reaction center photosystem 2, which is also called as P680. Again same image. Now see here, when normal condition is there, at that time with the wavelength of 680 nanometer, electrons from the photosystem 2 they excite, and they are accepted by a primary electron acceptor. This is photosystem 2 where electrons are excited, and it is accepted by primary electron acceptor called as pheophytin. Later it transferred to the quinone, and then to the plastoquinone, and then to the cytochrome complexes. Now when the photosystem 2 undergoes the oxidation, at that time the vacancy created in the photosystem 2 is fulfilled by the electrons which are provided by the oxidation of water or photolysis of water. Now after the BS6 complex, electron reaches to plastocyanin and then to the photosystem 1. During this transfer of electron, protons which are present in the stroma of the chloroplast, they passes to the lumen of the thylakoid membrane. Now again talk about the electrons. After the electrons reaching to the photosystem 1, this electron get transferred to the ferredoxine molecule, and after the ferredoxine it passes to, by a series of electron carriers, it passes to the NADP reductase, and there is a synthesis of NADPH, which is a reducing power which, which is going to be utilized in the next phase of photosynthesis, that is Kelvin cycle or dark reaction. And the proton gradient which is developed inside the lumen, this leads to the synthesis of ATP molecule. Likewise, in the non-cyclic photophosphorylation, NADPH as well as ATP, both they are formed. Unlike cyclic photophosphorylation, in this non-cyclic process, the electrons vacancy created after oxidation of PS1 is fulfilled by the electrons flow from the PS2 for continuation of the process. Now, this is the outcome of photophosphorylation process as we have discussed already. Peter Michel in 1961 explained the mechanism of chemiosmotic hypothesis. Like in respiration, in photosynthesis too, ATP synthesis is linked to development of proton gradient across the membrane. This time, these membranes are of thylakoid. There is one difference though. Here, the proton accumulation is toward the inside of membrane, that is lumen, whereas in case of respiration, in the mitochondria, accumulation of proton is in the intermembrane space. This is all about the two pigment system, cyclic and non-cyclic photophosphorylation. I hope you understood the topic, which is a preparatory phase for CO2 reduction. If you like the video, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you.